So first of all, we're just going to go through our cars for the upper body. So guys, just stand up. All right, we'll go right hand first. So externally rotate. And for today, I just want you to put your hand on your rib cage so that you can kind of feel if your spine is moving. So we want to only be moving the shoulder joint, so that can give you a little bit of feedback. All right, so from here, we're going to sweep across the body. Reach up by the ear. Once you can't reach any higher, you're going to start to internally rotate. So try to turn your bicep towards the floor. Keep reaching back till you're in extension, and then bring your hand by your side. Now reach straight back. Externally rotate. Keep rotating. Back past the ear, back across the body, and back to the start. Okay, we'll do one more. I'll just face this way for another angle for you guys. Sweep across. Up into shoulder flexion. Then internally rotate. Into extension. And then hand by your side. Now reach straight back. Externally rotate. And back across. All right, guys, let's switch arms. So go for the left. As we're doing these cars, pay attention to how they feel, where you feel tight. Make sure we're avoiding any pain. Good, on one more rep with this left arm. And just watching a few of you guys, I can see that the spine is moving a bit. So for example, in this position, people are starting to turn as they go to that part. So remember, we're trying to keep our spine still. We're only moving the shoulder. Good job, guys. All right, let's move on to our scapula cars. And we'll do them with the hands behind the back. So just make fists, hands behind your back. And I want you to start by pushing your shoulders forward and shrug up. Pull the shoulders back and shrug down. Let's do 5 this direction. Remember, guys, never push through pain. Always back off if you feel pain. Okay, guys, change directions. And if this position is painful in itself, then you can just do hands by your side. So back, up, forwards, down. Good stuff, guys. All right, last one we'll do is just the spine before we start doing some stretches. So widen your feet for some more balance. Cross the arms across the chest. Squeeze the glutes so that the lower body doesn't move. And let's go into spinal flexion. And we're going to rotate to the right, then lean over and extend. Start to lean over to the other side and rotate and back through the middle. One more this side, guys. Good stuff. Back the other way. And one more. Cool. All right, if you have a yoga mat, then grab that. Also, if you have a yoga block, that would be useful. If you don't, then if you have a cushion as well, that can work. Or actually, a foam roller can also be used in place of a yoga block or a cushion. We just need it to rest our heads on. So, all right, we're going to lie on our side. Head on the pillow or the yoga block, whichever. And we're going to work on the internal rotation of our shoulder. So I want you guys to have your shoulder blade neutral, so make sure your shoulder blade isn't popping forward. And then from here, take your hand on top of your wrist and start to gently push this forearm towards the ground. And you should feel a stretch going around the shoulder. If you feel a pinching sensation, then let me know and I will suggest how you can adjust it to avoid that. We definitely don't want to feel a pinching sensation. Yeah, we want to feel a stretch. So guys, we're going to hold this position for another 90 seconds. And then we're going to do PAILs and RAILs. Yeah, did you have a question, Ryan?
Yeah, I do. I don't understand what you're doing. Are you pushing your lower forearm down right now into the ground?
So this arm here, I'm pushing down this way.
And where are you feeling a stretch?
Feel a stretch up in the shoulder up here.
It's like a rotation going this way then, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So rotating down this way. Yeah. So guys, PAILs and RAILs, it's a way of increasing our flexibility. And it's basically making isometric contractions in a stretch. So in this position, the PAILs, we're going to be pushing up into our top hand, but it's an isometric contraction, so there won't be movement. You're just going to activate those muscles and contract those muscles, pushing up into your hand. And then the RAILs, we're going to take this top hand away and we're going to try to reach our forearm towards the floor, but without letting the shoulder blade come out of neutral. So we're just trying to rotate the shoulder joint itself. And PAILs and RAILs, what they do is they send a message to your nervous system that you can create force in this position, and therefore your body thinks it's safe, and it gives you a little bit more range of motion. All right, guys, so let's start pushing 20% effort into that top hand. As long as there's no pain, increase it up to 40%. 60% effort. And 80%, as long as there's no pain. 3, 2, 1, and switch to the rails. So take that top hand away and try to reach towards the floor. Again, we're trying to rotate the shoulder, not moving our scapula. And relax those contractions, guys. Take the hand back on top and go back to just a passive stretch. So normally PAILs and RAILs gives us a little bit more range of motion. However, it's only temporary unless you do it consistently and unless you try to add strength and control into that range.
How do you define consistency, David?
Well, so let's switch sides, guys. Well, if you want to actually increase the range of motion, I would say you'd have to do it at least 3 times a week. It's very similar to strength training. So it's like if you want to increase your back squat, you have to do it regularly in order to see improvements. It does depend. If you do like a longer, more intense, I guess, stretching session. So maybe you do this stretch for, let's say you do 2 minutes passive and then PAILs and RAILs, and then another minute and then another PAILs and RAILs. Just like if you did like a really intense squat session, then you may actually need a few more days off in between. Whereas if you did more of a lighter session, then you could do that more frequently. And with both, you can see results. Yeah, mobility training is just strength training, just in your end ranges. Our body responds the same way because it's all just muscle and tissues. So yeah, if you're thinking, if you're asking yourself like how much mobility training is enough, then sort of ask yourself, like if I wanted to improve my bench press, how often would I have to bench press and how hard would I have to work out in the session, sort of thing. Does that answer your question?
It does. You know, sometimes when I think about stretching and stretching almost, I always think of it as like every day, right? In order to remain limber. But I wasn't sure about mobility work and whether you thought about it as like every day or even sometimes a couple times a day, depending on how intense it is, I suppose. So I was just trying to get a gauge as to sort of what you meant by consistent, because I wasn't 100% sure there.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So yeah, your daily cars with the low intensity, that's your daily maintenance, just to maintain what you have. And then your PAILs and RAILs, or I've started to work with some end range exercises with you guys. Those are like your actual training. And if you do those right, then you're going to be sore from it and you're not going to be able to do it every day. And nor should you. It'd be like doing heavy squats every day. It's not actually good for you. So I normally say to you guys, with the exercises I give, it's like 3 times a week. All right, guys, let's do our pails and rails on this side. So start pushing up into that top hand. Again, as long as there's no pain, increase the effort. 60%, 80%. 3, 2, 1, switch to the rails. Take that top hand away, reach towards the floor. And back to a passive stretch. All right, guys, come on out of that one. So we're going to move on to working on our external rotation now. So you're going to line your stomach. You're going to have your arm out like this. You're going to place the block underneath your wrist. So yeah, maybe I'll go this side first so you can see, just like this. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use some books, or you could use the cushion again. Just something to elevate the wrist. And from here, turn your head the other way and you're going to twist. I'm going to switch back to the other side. So you should feel a stretch in the shoulder, maybe the chest as well. And your opposite hand, you can push into the floor for leverage. So guys, let me know if you're struggling with this one. So when we're stretching, guys, I just want to talk to you a little bit about different sort of painful sensations. So we have a sort of pinching sensation, and if you're feeling that, that's likely an impingement. So it's when the bones are running into each other, and that's when there's not enough space in our joint capsule. And you can't, like, if that's the feeling you have, it's not a stretch. It's just your bones hitting each other, and all it's going to do is cause pain and inflammation, and there's no point in doing that. So if you ever feel that in any of these guys, let me know. Then there's an actual stretching sensation itself. And you want to find a balance. So if you are pushing too hard, that stretching sensation can become so intense that we're not actually able to relax. So we want to get to that point where it's a deep stretch. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but we can relax into it. If we're pushing too hard into it, it's going to be counterproductive. So for this one, guys, pails, I want you to be pushing your wrist down into whatever object it's on. And the rails, we're going to be trying to lift the wrist off. And with the rails, guys, I didn't mention before, you're probably not going to actually get any movement, but just engage the muscles on that side. Okay, so let's start pushing down through our wrist. 20% effort, 40% effort, 60%, 80%, 3, 2, 1, and switch to rails. Imagine you can lift your wrist off, engage all those muscles behind the shoulder, and back to passive. All right, guys, come on out of that one. And let's switch to the other side. So guys, another pain you might feel is if you have, say, a muscle tear or a ligament sprain, and then you go and stretch. That can also be painful. So you might feel it in the muscle that you're trying to stretch, but if that muscle is actually injured, then it will be more of a painful sensation than a stretch. And if you ever feel that sort of sensation, also let me know, because if you push too hard, you can cause further injury. Okay guys, let's go for our pails and rails. Take a deep breath. Start pushing down into the block. And with the pails, guys, we always start at a low intensity. I say about 20%, and then we gradually increase just to make sure it's safe. So as long as there's no pain, ramp that up to all the way up to 80%. 3, 2, 1, and switch to rails. Three, 2, 1, back to a passive stretch. So I guess what I was trying to say earlier in terms of consistency is, if you do your pails and rails, say, you will get a little bit more range of motion, but it's not going to last unless you do it consistently, like I was saying. So you can't just do it once and then say, oh, I'm more flexible now. I don't need to keep doing this. It's like if you did one squat session and then expected your legs to permanently be stronger. So, all right, guys, come on out of this one. All right, so next up, I want to work on shoulder adduction. So adduction is across this way. And what I want you guys to do is find a post or a doorway or a piece of furniture, just anything that you can grab onto and it's not going to fall over. So I'm going to use my rig here. And you can do this standing up, but I'm just going to do it from a kneeling position. So you're going to reach across your body, grab onto whatever it is you have, and then you're just going to twist. And you're going to feel a stretch on the back of the shoulder here. So yeah, the doorway would probably work well. Don't worry if you have to be off camera for this. So yeah, just stay in this stretch, guys. And the reason I like this one is because normally just pulling the arm across the chest, I normally just kind of feel a pinching actually of my chest muscle, kind of like my pec is just getting squeezed. Whereas actually holding on to something, it pulls the shoulder out slightly and you can really get into the tissues behind the shoulder rather than just feeling that pinching sensation. All right, we're gonna switch sides, guys.
There's no pails and rails on this one, Meg?
Pardon?
No pails and rails on this?
No, we're not going to do the pails and rails for this one. You could do them. So the pails would be engaging these muscles behind the shoulder, kind of like pulling on whatever you're holding on to. And then the rails would be squeezing your chest muscles, trying to bring your arm across like this. Yeah. But yeah, we won't do them. Yeah. Let's switch sides. So remember, guys, take deep breaths. And then every exhale, try to go a little bit deeper. Okay, guys, you can come out of this one. And if you, so yeah, I want you guys to grab a broomstick or a PVC, anything like that. And anyone who doesn't have one, let me know, and I'll give you an alternative. Cool. All right. Yeah. Does anyone not have one? Let me know. Okay. I think we're just waiting for Jason to get back. All right. Let's get into the stretch. Cool. Everyone's got one. Nice. All right. I want you to take your yoga block or your pillow or your books or whatever you had that you were using for this stretch. Place it in front of you. Then I want you to take your PVC about shoulder width apart in your hands. And you're going to place that on top of the blocks as you're on top of the block as you're lying on your stomach. So guys, if you don't feel a stretch, you can either make that object higher. So if you have a yoga block, you can raise it up. Or another option is you could go into a child's pose type position and then go on top like this. So find some variation where you feel a stretch in the shoulders. So I'm gonna go like this. Remember, guys, you don't want to feel any pinching, just a nice stretch. So this is going to help us with our overhead movements, our shoulder presses,
our clean and jerks, handstands, overhead squats. So guys, for our pails, you're going to be pushing down on the stick. And then our rails, we're going to be trying to lift the stick off of the block. Again, it won't lift, most likely, unless you have really good mobility, but just engage. All right, let's start pushing down, 20% effort. Gradually increase that effort. Keep your head and your chest heavy on the floor though. All right, guys, 80%. 3, 2, 1, and try to lift. And back to passive.
All right, guys, come on out of the stretch. All right, so now that we've done some stretches, some pails and rails, we've got a bit more flexibility. We're gonna now try and add some strength and control with some end range exercises. So I want you to find a height for whatever object you have where you can barely lift off. So from here, barely lift the stick off and back down. And that lift, guys, it has to be just the shoulders. So I have to keep my chest and my head on the ground and just lift my shoulders up. If I just move like this, that's not my shoulders, that's my back training. All right, guys, so we're gonna go for 10 reps on this. You may just have your hands on the floor and you're trying to lift off the floor. Depends on your level. And if you can't get any sort of lift off, try moving your hands slightly wider to make it a bit easier. All right, guys, let's go together. So stay heavy on the head and chest. Deep breath. And lift. And gently back down. And lift. Gently back down. And up. Down. Up. Down. Up. Down. Keep going as high as possible. Up. Down. 7. 8. 9. And 10. Okay, guys, take a quick break from that. Yeah, let me know if anyone's kind of struggling with this or if they need to adjust their setup. Nope. All right, so next one, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the broomstick or whatever you have behind the neck like this. Then I want you to lift off, extend, hover over the object, come back, and place back behind the shoulders. Again, we're staying heavy on the head and chest. All right, guys. Let me know if you can't do this, and I'll give you something else. All right, guys, lift, extend, hover, and bring it back.
Go for 10 reps. Try not to touch the object. That's 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Keep reaching high as you can. 8, 9 and 10. All right, good stuff, guys, good stuff.
All right, last thing for today, guys, we're just gonna do a couple more cars, shoulder cars. And I'm just gonna show you a level 2 cars. So basically, a level 2 is just when you block out a certain joint to prevent it from compensating. So for this one, you're gonna need a wall, flat wall. And yeah, you're gonna stand up. So with one arm, you're gonna put your arm against the wall like this. And I also want your chest and your hip against the wall. So it's almost like you're doing that. So some people, you do this stretch on the ground, but it's almost like you're doing that against the wall. And then from there, with our other arm, we're going to do our cars. So being up against the wall like this, it's going to prevent the spine from moving because the wall is blocking it. So it's going to really force you to only use the shoulder. All right, guys, so with our opposite hand, let's start our cars. We're going to go an external rotation. Slide your arm up the wall. Come into shoulder flexion. Now we're going to internally rotate. Keep that chest and hip against the wall. Let's go back the other way. Extend. Externally rotate. Keep reaching back. And back down along the wall. One more rep, guys. So you may feel like this rotation is smaller than what we did at the beginning of class. And if that's the case, that's probably because you were compensating with your spine. Good stuff, guys. All right, switch sides. All right, guys, let's go for 2 reps on this arm. You also may notice differences side to side. So my right arm is definitely not as big a rotation. So that might mean, well, I know for me, my internal rotation on my right arm is not as good as my left, so I need to work on that more. All right, good job, everyone. So yeah, guys, if you find that with your shoulder cars, you do a lot of twisting and moving the back, then that's a good option for you to try and correct that. So guys, any questions on today's session, or any questions on the videos from this week that I put on the website? So it was about how to stretch and about flexibility. So the video was explaining PAILs and RAILs as well. Yeah, any questions on anything, guys?
So with this, David, so like I did my one-on-one with you yesterday and we did hips and ankles, right? So we talked about doing that 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
So are we alternating this in 3 times a week as well in between the other 3 times a week? Just trying to get a sense of gauge of, are we interleaving all of this stuff together or what for the week?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what I sent you in the notes, that's what I want you to focus on for this week. So
Okay.
all this other stuff that we've done in this class, that's just to give you ideas and teach you more about how to improve your shoulder mobility, just kind of in general for everybody. But in our one-on-ones, I've given your specific weaknesses. I've tailored that program to you. So
Okay.
what we've done in this session, yeah, just for these sessions, you can just show up and do these, and then you don't necessarily have to do them again. I would more focus on the stuff I give you based on our one-on-ones. So does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, mate.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, any other questions, guys? No? All right. Well, yeah, if you think of anything, you can send it to me in the mastermind channel in Slack. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for coming.